it's Diane, the Creative Inkster. Today is Wednesday, September 28th, 2022. We're going to have some fun with the Greenery die, stitched Greenery, but you can do a lot of these fun projects also with an embossing folder of your choice. So let's dive right in and take a look at what we can do with this amazing die. But first, a little commercial break. If you're watching live, please let me know. I love to interact with you and read your comments when I'm taking a look up. And if you're watching the replay, let me know in the comments below so I can know that you were watching and answer your questions. So the Stitched Greenery die is one in our annual catalog, which has been out there for a little while, and I've really loved it. It is on page 174. It's down here. It's one large die for $44. Now, before you kind of have a little sticker shock on that, because I did myself, I want to encourage you to take a look at the options you've got here. First of all, it is a die, but it doesn't cut through. It stitches. And this is a really useful pattern to work with. Hi, Vicki. I think it's great for adding a little interest. I'm going to show you how I dress that up a little bit on a few cards. So here is one that I made on the weekend using the die, the Stitched Greenery, on a layer of basic white. And afterwards, I took my blending brush and the matching ink to this, which is Pear Pizzazz, and I inked over it. You could use a sponge dauber, or a blending brush. And look at the beautiful detail, how on the stitched areas it's even a little bit darker. And then I put this vellum layer over top to add some depth to the card, but allow you to be able to see through. So just a really pretty and soft layer you can add. And here's where I've used this one as well in a class, and this was the entire layer stitched. So on Petal Pink, without any, hi Brenda, without any blending or ink on it, it's just the stitched greenery. So $44 for this, but we're seeing a fair bit of use in different ways that you can use it. I also found where you can add it to your envelope. So the flap, yes, not so sure I'd put it through the front. I never actually have. But on the flap, it gives a gorgeous detail, which you could also, if you wanted to, add some sponging to color it up. And here it is on some foil paper. So this is the silver foils that we had during Celebration as a freebie near the end of Celebration, and which are still in our annual catalog. They are three sort of colors of silver, and did I say gold or silver? Anyway, it looks with Petal Pink very rose goldish, I would say. So yeah, what a gorgeous detail on there. You don't need much to dress that guy up. In this one here, I took a piece of very vanilla. You could do this in white as well. And I stitched, used the Stitched Greenery to make a layer. Then I cut the layer into 4 equal pieces. You can make it, you know, different heights if you want, but I just kind of broke it up there. So then again, it's the same as this layer here, just looks a little different. So there's a few ways that you can use this fabulous die. And then we're going to make together this one here, which is adding some paper, just some patterned paper, and I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick this up, but I ran it through the die afterwards, and it added all the stitching, which gives it the look of, you can probably see it best on this light one, the look of actual fabric and quilting. So very, very pretty as well. So another thing you can do with that. So before we jump into that, I want to share a couple of projects I've got coming up. So this is my class in October. These are the kit to go, so you get all the supplies to make 2 of each of these 4 cards. You provide the inks, your adhesives, and the stamp, but I usually have the labels in such a way that you'll have something that's going to fit on there. So a couple of different layouts. This one with some beautiful foil paper, which I love. And again, if you have this layer here and you don't have something to fit on it, just use anything from your stash, but you'll get all the other pieces. And then my favorite with the brick and mortar. So this is kind of a fun card. So this one you'd need to have something, because we're not able to sell kits with stamped images in them. You'd need to have something to work here. Hi, Alita. And so that's whole set here is 8 cards for $25 extra for shipping. And you can sign up for that. And then I have another class in October with these adorable little creatures. So this is another one of our dies from the annual catalog. It's called the Cracker Treat Box Dies. So it has this large die, which makes a standard size Christmas cracker. That's this one here is their standard. But in my class, I'm going to show you how to make it wider or longer. And you'll have enough supplies to make 16 of the regular, or 8 of the long, or 8 of the wide, and you'll have a little bit left over with that one. So yeah, if you're interested, let me know. It includes the dies in that class. It's $85, but includes the $49 dies and all the supplies and instructions. So let's jump back in to our, they're double-sided. It just makes putting this type of project together so much easier. So basically, you peel off the backing, and this makes it double-sided, and then I just lay it down on the white, and then I'll fold it over and peel the next section of backing off, because if you get it all off, you know what's going to happen. It's going to get all over you. And then I kind of push this over and take the third segment off. And this is just the backing paper. With your bone folder, you just burnish this a bit. That gets the little air bubbles out. And so now we have a piece of white with adhesive sheet on it. We're going to peel the backing of the adhesive sheet off. And in so doing, we are going to have a nice sticky surface on which to build our triangles here. Well, they're squares, but they're going to kind of go on as actually diamonds. Okay, can't get my fingernail underneath there. There we go. All right. So I'm going to peel this off, and you can see that it's shiny. So that's the sticky side up. This piece is garbage, and we've got a sticky surface with which to work. So I have these three of each pattern. There's 1, 2, 5 patterns. And we're just going to add these on the card exactly like I did on this one ahead of time. So the first piece I placed was actually this one, because I realized I put this on upside down. That's okay, it doesn't matter. And I'm kind of putting this on as a offset, if you will. So I'm putting the first piece on so that I have a triangle left at the top of the white. And to that, I'm going to take another one. We're going to have some waste here, not to worry. And I'm adding this in halfway. So this is actually going to meet on the triangle. And we're going to cut some of this off. Now, with the adhesive sheet, you can sort of lift it up if it's not pressed down too hard. So now it's a matter of going ahead and once again finding the middle point of the base one we started with and putting that down. Now I don't want the same pattern right over here, so I'm going to go with this one over here. Is that a good choice? I think so. It doesn't really matter. If you've got leftovers, it's going to be fine. So I cut 15 1.5-inch triangles to begin. That worked on the last card, so hopefully that's going to work again. And I'm just kind of willy-nilly placing the rest of them. Well, willy-nilly sort of, in the way of choosing the patterns. So I'm trying to kind of, there wasn't a lot of rhyme or reason. Okay, folks, I'll be honest. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to add a piece down here. And I know that I may run out of pieces, but as you can see, we're going to cut this stuff off the back, so I will have some pieces there that I can use. So one that I haven't used is this one, since up here. So it's going to go in between these two patterns. That just gives us a little bit more of a bit and pieces kind of put together. You don't want anything that's got too much of an up and down pattern, or you may not be happy with the outcome. I don't want that one to go there, but this guy can go here. And then this guy, I want him to give him some big play, because he's kind of only used there. And then this one on the corner. Now I've overlapped just a wee bit because I found that I had a little opening, and that's okay. And then this piece is going to go here. And I know we've got a small triangle here and here to fill. We're going to do that from our leftover scraps. So once you've placed this working on the diagonal, flip it over, grab your paper snips, and starting in one corner, just cut off all of that overhang. And you can use your white as your guide, which I didn't do very well right there. Use that as your guide with your scissors pushed up against that edge there. Now these pieces that are falling off, they have no adhesive on them because the adhesive is all on the white, which was the trick that made putting this together more easily, because I didn't have liquid glue squishing out, which would have been my choice to use, or my preference to use, nor would I have excess sticking out on the tape runner type stuff. So okay, so here's where we're at. Now the mistake I made last time was not in putting it in the upright, because I kind of have a bit of an upright, and now I can see where I need to fill in and what I need to fill in with. So I've got this leftover bit, and it of course has a triangular edge, so we'll stick it there. And then maybe what would go nice, maybe this one isn't really highly represented, and it can go here. So that's the segment where I overlapped a wee bit. No problemo. All right, so now I'm going to flip it over again and cut off the excess. Now you could do this. You wouldn't have to do it diagonally like I did. It just helped me visually in getting it across. So my thought was to layer it, was to trim it and layer it onto this piece here, but I feel like I'm going to lose some of those tiny triangles, and I don't want that to happen. So this is where I'm going to layer it on, but first I'm going to emboss it. And we're going to pretend that I did that only because I don't want to go off camera and do that. So I would take my die, I would stick the beautiful patchwork side down so that when it goes through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, that it will transfer this stitched pattern to this side. And you can see where I've done that on this one. I hope it's sort of hard to see in the video. I'm kind of hoping that you'll see it through here, but I'll try and get some good photos and post those too. And so that is how you make this into a stitched piece of fabric. I think it's pretty cool as things go. Let's finish this card off without the stitching. Sure. And to do that, I'm going to take my evening evergreen and tie a ribbon. So usually if I go this way, how much have I ended cutting off? 16, about 18 inches. About 18 inches of ribbon. Oh, but I can show you how you can save some ribbon. So instead of using the 18-inch where you're wrapping it around and you're tying your bow, you've got a lot of excess back here that you're not going to use or see. So what you can do instead is just add a little 1/2 inch on either side of your layer. On the back you can put, I think I'll put some tear and tape. I thought I had that out here on my desk somewhere. No, but I have glue dots. That'll work too. Take a couple of glue dots. 1, 2 on the back here, and then you take your ribbon and you just lay it down on top. This is going to stick down perfectly nicely because you're going to lay the whole layer down. Even if you use dimensionals, it'll be fine. I'll show you how we do that. So then you're saving this bit here, and then we'll see how much we save because I've got this left over, right? And then you can do one of two things. You can either slip it through and tie a knot or a bow, or you can just tie a bow and put a glue dot to stick it down, and that's what I did on the other one. So here we go. Tying. So with this kind of open weave, I find you get to play with it a little bit to get it to land just the way you want. Just twist it back and forth, and then trim off the excess and get this a nice trim here. And then we'll take a glue dot or two, whatever you need, and stick that down here. And that's that layer. And then to stick it onto your card, you can do a couple things. Use your liquid glue, tear and tape, or if you want to pop it up on dimensionals, I would recommend sticking a piece over top of your ribbon to help hold that in place. You're not going to notice it, but it's certainly going to help it stay in place. And then I'm putting 2 in the center so it doesn't sag when it goes through the mail. Just pop this down. And then we will add a greeting to this card. How pretty is that? And it's not a difficult pattern to make. Basically, it's the 1.5 inch. You start by putting 1 down and then meeting in the middle and adding on from there. And then we have saved 5.5 inches of ribbon, which, you know, had I thought about that ahead of time, I could use that in a longer piece, but that's all right. And we're going to do the happy birthday, I think, again on this one with Sweet Sorbet. Got a piece of white right here, and I'm using my rectangular postage stamp punch because it fits nicely across the ribbon. You may have heard me say this before if you watched my videos, but when I put a greeting over top of ribbon, I'm careful to put my dimensionals at the top and the bottom so it doesn't sit on the ribbon. If it sits on the ribbon, it tends to sort of flop about, and I don't want that to happen. So I will take a little bit of my leftover bits here, put one along the bottom and one along the top, and my ribbon's going to slide in between the two. And as a result, it's going to stay right where I want it to. And look at that. It lined up so beautifully that I've got that little triangle sticking up and sticking down on that one. So yeah, this one didn't get the stitching on it, but this one definitely did. So I hope you like that idea from 2 points, from using the stitched greenery die or by doing it just by cutting your scrap pieces up and making a beautiful patchwork quilt. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up, that you enjoy World Card Making Day. Stampin' Up is having a free event for the world, and I will post that on the Facebook page so you'll know when to tune in. It is on Saturday, October 1st from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then they're showing off 3 different bundles, but I'm feeling really confident that the projects can be made using just about anything, because I've seen the list, which I've already posted, but we'll repost for the supplies so you can play around with that. Thanks for watching. Take good care. Bye now.